Now to some serious accusations tonight about federal Green Party leader Elizabeth May. In an article published in the Toronto Star, 3 of her former staffers accuse her of being emotionally and verbally abusive in the workplace. They say she created a toxic atmosphere by yelling at employees and putting them down in front of others. The accusers include the party's former interim executive director and the party's former director of finance. In a statement today, the Green Party flatly denied the allegations, calling the accusers disgruntled former staff and saying there have been no formal complaints against Ms. May. The statement also says May has been subjected to unfair treatment because of outdated gender stereotypes. When contacted by Check News, a party representative said the accuser's story is, quote, flimsy and that no internal investigation is underway.
Welcome back to the Power Panel. Yolande, Rick, Kathleen and Marty are all here. I wanted to mention that the Green Party leader, Elizabeth May, is also facing allegations of bullying by 3 former staffers. And she's asked the party for an independent investigation, but is staying on as leader. Marty, do you want to take a run at this one? I mean, is that appropriate? Sure. Is that equal treatment? Is that the right way to handle this?
Just a bit of personal experience. I mean, I followed her around during her sort of quixotic attempt to take Peter MacKay's seat ages and ages ago in Nova Scotia. And I saw Elizabeth May in action, kind of a stressful situation, very tough, assertive, you know, often loud. And I don't want to cast any aspersions on the allegations against her and the people that are making them. But I would say that, the fact that she's said that she has this isn't the case, that she's called for her own sort of review from the party, that there's almost, let's just say this, put it this way, a person who is loud, assertive, and tough, if he happens to be a man, can quickly become bitchy, nagging, if considered if you're a woman. I think there's 2 different categories here, and I think people have to be very wary about that when it comes to female politicians, particularly those in a position of power.
Yolande's got a point. It's one thing when a man does it, he's aggressive, he's assertive, he's a leader, and when a woman does it, she's, you know.
Yeah,
what I said.
The B word or something. Yeah. Oh, I can say I would agree with that, but just generally on the situation, I think because in the era of, and this is obviously not allegations of a sexual nature, but of workplace environment, there's a lot of discussion as to the importance of it, of people being respected, and that should be true regardless of the party, regardless of the gender of the leader. That being said, we see here again the importance of having due process, because it's hard for any of us, and actually we shouldn't be able to judge without having all the facts of exactly what happened. So I think Elizabeth May is doing the right thing in terms of saying, do this investigation. I want to be able to find out exactly, go to the end of it. And as to whether she should step down in the meantime, I mean, that again, I'm very uneasy with that, because you don't have the nature of exactly what she's being accused of. But when I do hear the word bullying, intimidation, that is really serious. And I don't think that we should minimize it just because it's not sexual in nature.
And Rick, do you think there is a bit of a double standard, women versus men, that if a man was yelling at the staff in the office, people would just kind of expect it and no complaint filed?
Yes, I think that's probably one of the factors here, Terry. But you know, honestly, I'm surprised that we're surprised. You know, it's a very tense, competitive, alpha, in some cases macho, as you're referring, kind of environment. We've seen it in public. You know, we saw the Shawinigan Strangler thing. You know, for sure, Prime Minister Chrétien will probably have regretted, you know, grabbing that demonstrator and putting a chokehold on him.
I don't know about that.
Well, maybe he does.
He did complain, I believe.
But, you know, I mean, it was not the kind of action you would expect. There was another prime minister who was kind of famous for throwing things at his staff. There are MPs who are known as screamers, you know, who, you know, go off on tirades with people. There was a cabinet minister when I worked on the Hill who was a woman who didn't have a driver's license and was apparently yelling at her chauffeur on the way to a cabinet meeting. They were caught in traffic on the Queensway and they were late, and it was, in her view, his fault. and he finally had had enough. Got out of the car and walked away, left her there without a driver's license and no way to probably move that car. I don't even know what happened next. So there are plenty of stories. I shouldn't laugh about it. It can be serious, but there are plenty of stories like this that have been around the Hill, and I think people have learned to take it in stride. But maybe that's not the right way to do it. Maybe workplace behavior needs to come into line with what we expect to be the case in other circumstances.
Changing standards, right, Kathleen?
Well, I think that last point that Rick made is the right one, that workplace standards across the board, no matter what the workplace is, Canadians deserve to work in a workplace that is free from bullying, where they consider themselves to be safe and secure. And I think that if there's a silver lining to this particular Elizabeth May, the recent allegations against her behavior, is that maybe it will shine a light on workplace bullying. I know that my children actually get a lot of training in schools now around bullying and intimidation. This is a big theme in the schools these days to prevent bullies. And I think it should also spread to workplaces, in every workplace, not just Parliament Hill, but our cafes, our manufacturing centers, our retail stores. Everyone should be safe.
All right, we've got to watch out for those changing standards. I appreciate the Power Panel, Rick Anderson, Yolande James, Marty Patrick, and Kathleen Monk. Thank you all.
Thanks, Terry.
Excellent discussion today.